Hello and welcome to episode number 16 of Empowering Women Through Fitness. I'm your host, Bridget, Therese, and today I am talking to Maricella Olivares. We're going to get the correct pronunciation on her name, but we're talking about a very important topic today. So kind of deep, kind of heavy, but I'm excited for her to shed light on this topic as well as share her expertise, how she's overcome it, and how she is now helping other women through that experience. So totally what my show is all about is sharing our experiences, sharing those challenges, and then providing solutions for those, because so many of us go through things and we forget that, or we often feel like we're alone, and we're not. So finding other people that have been through these experiences and can also help us through those is what this is all about. So I see that she is already on, so I'm going to go ahead and add her. And the book is gracious to me today, because it has had its challenges in the past. But
hi, Bridget.
Hi, Therese. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. This was like my second seamless Facebook Live show of all 16 episodes.
You're becoming a pro on this, I guess.
Either that or Facebook finally made the update that made it so much easier for me to do this.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
It's been totally a journey, and like you said, I'm here to talk about my story and how I overcome it. So basically, I was
Before
just
you
like,
jump into it, I have to follow my format here. So
sure.
I have a few icebreaker questions so that we can get to know you a little bit better and kind of
Absolutely.
just understand where you're coming from. So my first question is, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Mexico. Mexico. Yes.
What part?
Michoacan.
Okay, awesome. And where do you live now?
I live in Oregon.
Oregon, okay. And what is something that you are grateful for today?
That I'm grateful?
That you're grateful for?
Yeah, well, I'm alive and I have a beautiful daughter. So, I mean, it cannot get better than that.
That's perfect. If you could have lunch with anyone, who would it be and why?
I think I would like to have lunch with my mom. I haven't seen her in a while. And so I'm super close with my mom, and I just met her, so I can't wait to see her. She's in Mexico, so I haven't seen her almost a year, which is the longest it's been a year, and I think it's the longest that we've been separated. So that's
mamas are important. So I understand.
Yes.
What is a new skill you would like to learn?
Probably another language. I love to learn languages. I think they're so much fun, and it's also a great skill to connect you with people. So yes. I would love that.
Any particular language?
I think for me, I put my next goal and learning Chinese, maybe Mandarin or Arabic, just because I love the sounds.
Or Arabic?
Yes.
That's cool. I need to learn Arabic because I'm half Lebanese, and that is
I didn't know that about you. Okay, great.
Lebanese, half Hispanic. What is one item on your bucket list you've checked off?
I don't know.
Okay, that's okay.
I can't think about it.
What is an item on your bucket list you'd like to check off?
Probably like jump out of a plane.
With a parachute attached?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
No, that's perfect. Well, awesome. So thanks for taking time and reaching out to me and asking for the opportunity to share your story. I love it, and of course, that's what it's all about. Whatever you're comfortable with, and I may interject with questions or just let you know how we're doing on time, things like that. But take us back to kind of the beginning where your journey begins, and whatever you're comfortable sharing with me. You don't have to go that detailed, but
absolutely. So basically, I was like any girl that we all. I'm not going to say all, but most of us wants to get married and have a beautiful family. And I come from a very close family, Hispanic, they're very oriented to have like a close unit, mom and dad. So basically, I met my sweetheart in college, and I thought he was like the most adorable person in the world, and I instantly fell in love with him. We actually had music together, so it was instant love. And then I met his family, which I was going to college in California, and he seemed amazingly, just perfect, which is a red flag, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, what's wrong with this guy? And so we met, and then I think a year later we were living together. It was that fast. And my parents were like, you need to get married first. And I was like, I wasn't sure. Like in my heart, I knew that maybe he wasn't the one, because I already had seen some signs. Yeah. So I was, I was kind of very, I was not sure if I wanted to get into that relationship.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we moved in together, and then I think before I got pregnant the first time, I was with him for 4 years, but I already had seen, I think I remember the first explosion, and I knew that he was not the one. It was a very scary time, and, it happened, my car broke down in a city that I didn't know, and this is the time where this happened like 10, 15 years ago, where we didn't have phones like now that you can reach out to anybody. And so anyway, so he came in, and instead of asking me, how are you? Because I was in a place that I'd never been, and my car totally blew the engine off, and I didn't have resources to like reach out for somebody else. And I remember that my phone died. So the first person that I contacted was him, right? Mm-hmm. So then he came over, and then he helped me. But instead of saying like, how can I help you? He exploded. He just went on, and it was, I was in shock. So basically, I started rethinking everything from beginning to end. Who is this person? Is he really the person that I really think it is? And everything was like a honeymoon story. So there's things that you just like don't see it because you're so blindfolded. And then I started thinking about, maybe I should leave this person. And I did, but then he was so good and, showered me with things that I needed emotionally, physically, materialistic to keep me in. And then I think in the next month, he introduced me to his family, which they are adorable. So I got more into the family. But the violence continued. It was like, if you study the psychology of violence, it goes in cycles. And, they had a honeymoon stage, and it keeps going, and it goes back into a circle. So that's why it's so hard to see those red flags for a lot of women. They're like, maybe he's gonna change. And so from that on, I think he kind of knew that I was thinking of leaving him, because the good thing about a lot of people that date is a lot of times they had healthy relationships, so it's easy for them to compare. Yeah. But when you only come from, usually they say it's generational, that if your parents had domestic violence, you're most likely to have domestic violence yourself, which I think is very true. But also, you can change the pattern. The power is on you. Yeah. So basically, I was, thinking I was getting everything together to move on, and then I find out that I was pregnant. So. And, if you study the psychology of domestic violence, it's one of the things that they do. They will get you pregnant to hold on to you. And I always been super independent. I moved out when I was 17, which is, and Latino families is like, oh my God, I had to fight my way to do that. But, I'm like, I can live alone. There's no problem. But my parents always were there for me, and friends. But the thing is about when you're going through something like this, you don't want to reach out to your friends because you are ashamed, and you don't want to say
Most
like,
likely, they're like, we told you.
absolutely, that's shaming it, right? Yeah. So my friends and my family is the last people that I wanted to go, which is ridiculous to think about. But when you're so ashamed of yourself, you're like, they're gonna make fun of me, or you don't want to make a fool of yourself, or it's just you're so embarrassed.
Right.
So basically, I didn't get separate. So, and then that went on, and I think I lost my first child, and that was super painful. And then it became the blaming game to add it to the domestic violence. And I think it took me probably 2 years more to get pregnant with my daughter, because it was really painful when I lost my first child.
Oh, yeah.
And that I know you can relate, right? And then I feel guilty leaving him too, because I'm like, he's in pain. So all these feelings, but you know what? At the end of the day, when I think back, it's all manipulation. It's part of the game, and they're going to grab to whatever they can. So I didn't. Of course, you didn't see it that way when you are in it.
Right.
But now that you look back and you're like, oh gosh, all the dots are there.
So what was it that finally got you out of it?
So I think after so my child was born, it was my daughter. We actually moved from California to Oregon. And I really didn't love Oregon at first because it's so different than California. There's a lot of Caucasian people here. There's not a lot of ethnicities here. So it was quite different. And we actually ended up moving with his family. And it was not a good thing. It just got worse. And then to top it off, I didn't have a vehicle. I don't know how these people, but when you look at most of the stories, you will see a lot of similarities, Yeah. So I ended up with no vehicle. Yes.
Yeah.
So I ended up with no vehicle, and it was so hard to get a job. It was so hard to get from point A to B, just to get your daily necessities, like, soap, groceries, blah, blah, blah. And I always had to depend on him money-wise and transportation, which it was a nightmare. If I can tell you all the tantrums that he will throw to take me somewhere. So anyhow, I got out by, I felt alone. Also, I was isolated from my family, which is another red flag, that isolated from your family. And I didn't know nobody in the state, so I actually ended up living in a shelter. I remember, it was like I hit rock bottom. My baby was 2, and I keep telling myself, like, there's no way that my daughter is going to grow up seeing somebody, screaming at me and belittling me, because that she's going to take that with her, and then she's going to live that again. So I couldn't forgive myself for that. So I just gained strength, and I think I called the shelter like 10 times, and because I couldn't make up my mind.
Wow.
And so they sent, it was really cool, actually. I feel like I was an escape, like, seriously. I was full of adrenaline, and I remember they sent me a taxi, and the advocates were amazing and had to hide everything. They had a totally escape, what's it called, planning ahead, so make sure that my life was safe, because if statistics, most of the women that die in the moment of escaping. So, he was away, there was nobody in the house, and it was my time to go. I grabbed my baby and I left. I remember I had any clothes or anything, just left. the shelter provided everything for me. So, it was actually incredible.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So
And go ahead.
that was your escape. So you got out of it, and now you have to rebuild. Where do
Yes.
do you go back to LA? Do you stay in Oregon? Well, you're still in Oregon, so.
So yeah, obviously, yeah. So yeah, I honestly, when I went to the shelter, they had an amazing program where you can actually go to a group because you had to get therapy. You can't just like go through this alone. And they told me like the average woman that goes to the shelter goes back to the abuser for 7 to 11 times.
Wow.
So and I'm not gonna lie to you, I went back with him after that. It took me, I think it was 3 times for me. It was the same repetitive because there was a lot of stuff going on, and then finally I said no, I had to like let it go, and I finally escaped through, but it was very hard.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's an incredible story of strength, and I've not been in a situation like that, but in all relationships, like we have instincts, we have flags, we have things that warn us. And I've been listening to this audiobook that talks about all these things, and kind of like how you have an angel that looks out for you, and they're like, I'm giving you these warnings, I'm giving you these warnings. And it can be as simple as you need to leave this job, and if you don't pay attention to that, you'll get fired. Like they will be like, okay, I got this, I'm going to go fire you then. But in the same relationship, when I was in a relationship that I needed to get out of, none of my friends liked him. I had all the red flags, and it took basically getting slapped in the face with the truth. Which, in hindsight, I knew what was going on.
Right.
But sometimes it just takes, like in your case, it took your daughter being there and being like, I need to save my daughter and protect her from this. So at that point, it wasn't even necessarily for you, which it should have been, but it was for her. And like that was enough adrenaline, enough your why was big enough to
absolutely
eyes. So,
yeah.
I know you have in turn been able to go help other women through this. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So after I stayed there at the shelter, I was offered, I started working with women. I was offered an opportunity to work with them because I had quite a work history. So they're like, oh my God, you're looking for a job, we're hiring. So I actually landed a job there I stayed there for almost 5 years, I think. I actually had a group of women that we will talk about domestic violence and kind of the healing process. So it was really empowering. And I did not know, I had no clue about the whole psychology, mental, the whole shebang. I was like, wow, it feels like I went to the university for domestic violence, basically. So, for a while, I still do it. But whenever somebody tells me about their relationship, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm not going to tell you anything because you're just going to like tell me about domestic. They're like, everything with you is domestic violence. I'm like, no, I just want to make sure that you're aware. I'm nobody to tell you what to do. But I think if somebody were to tell me all these things that I know now, it probably would have saved my life earlier. So I'm sure that, if you have a cousin or a sister or a friend and you see that something's going on that doesn't seem right, like the controlling manipulation, you're going to say something.
Yeah. So can you give us like 5 signs or 5 top signs that you're in either relationship that's heading that direction or just red flags?
Yeah, absolutely. So manipulation is one, coercion, just like controlling thing. it starts kind of like, some people are like, no, he loves me. It's because he jealousy, starts very subtle. But where you have to watch out is that it keeps increasing as time goes by. So, but then you're not going to be able to notice because you are under a spell. You're being brainwashed psychologically. So it's going to be very hard for you to detect. So that's why it's so good to have somebody that supports you, to kind of, like a good friend, so that they're kind of watching with you. But I think, everybody knows when they're in a relationship that is not.
So,
yes.
Question on that. So, in reality, everybody knows, and I will say that I knew, and for whatever reason, I had my reasons that I stayed.
Right.
Everybody does. So, I mean, is there anything you can do? Because ultimately, it's our decision. We have to finally make the decision for us. So,
right.
So what do you do? How do you handle it? Or do you just wait till it's that bad that you get out?
Absolutely. So basically, you asking me two different questions, but I can tell you that in the legal aspect of it, there is legal repercussions to it. And so basically, if you had children and somebody that is, somebody reports you to DHS, and you're not doing nothing about it, if they know that, that the batter is your boyfriend or your husband, and you're not doing nothing about it, you can actually get in trouble with DHS, and your kids can be taken away from you.
That's abuse towards you or the kids.
Yes.
Okay.
So, which is kind of, I don't agree with that part that much, but it is the legal system that is in place right now. And so a lot of women will come to me in different stages of escaping, and a lot of them were forced to come to me because they were already kind of in that stage. But I think that's scary, and definitely you don't want to be there. So you have to think about, I think it's just a very honest question. And you kind of know it. You kind of know inside you. Are you willing to stay with somebody that's going to treat you like, like trash, or worse than that, is going to hate you? Because, I mean, when you see the signs of domestic violence, everybody thinks, oh, it's hitting, but actually it's different. It's physical, emotional. It's also now with technology, can also turn into technology harassment, because how we live in. So there's many different colors and shapes and sizes how this can surface in your life.
I think and to talk about kind of the recovery part, and you can talk about this too, but when I was listening to that audiobook, they were talking about the same one about the angels and how that helps you. They're saying when you're in situations like this, basically you're giving up your power. And when you give up your power, you lose your self-confidence, you lose your drive, you lose basically who you are, because you've given it to this person. So when you get out of it, it's not until then and that you start gaining your power back, and that you start trusting your instincts, and you start learning how to listen to yourself and respecting and loving yourself enough to recognize those qualities or nice qualities, those faults in other people. And that's, I mean, we're referring this to a lot in the reference to a male versus female relationship, but I feel like this could be a multitude of relationships.
Yeah, well, and in general, it could be family violence, so friend violence, because there's people that also become abusers that are not exactly your mates. So absolutely. And narcissism comes with it. So basically when you were talking about, losing yourself to this person, you're absolutely right on the money. You do lose yourself to this person because your energy is completely given to this person. So your self-identity, your self-worth is completely given to this person. So it's so hard for you to do anything. I mean, they're kind of like a slave of this mental abuse constantly.
So, what advice would you give to someone? Because believe it or not, we're already almost at 30 minutes. So,
Wow.
yeah, it always goes by so fast. What advice would you give to a woman who's maybe having those red flags, but is like on the fence, like it's not that bad. He's good at all these things, because we
Absolutely.
don't have that.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
Absolutely. So basically, look at yourself. Every time that you wake up in the morning and you think about the things that you're going to be doing when you plan your day, look at yourself and say, is this really worth it, staying with this person? Because I guarantee you're going to find somebody that truly loves you and respects you, And I've been single for a while, and I think my biggest fear is to end up with somebody again like that. And, you have to learn how to love yourself by yourself. And I think a lot of the girls that I work, because I was just talking to somebody that's going through something like that. And, she said, well, at least he's not worse than the other guy. And I'm like, but why would you put yourself again in that situation, And you have to really find your self-worth by yourself, not dependent on somebody. So, and reach out to your friends. I mean, I know how it feels because I didn't do it, but if you're scared, there's always the domestic violence hotline. And there's so much information right now in the internet. There's bloggers. I mean, if you just type it, you will find a lot of people. Before we didn't have that, but in the last 5 years, it's like, wow. So I would say reach out to somebody. Don't stay by yourself. The worst thing you're going to do is isolate yourself. Talk to somebody. Because if you have 1 or 2 people, I guarantee you it's going to feel better than being by yourself. And get out of there. I mean, a lot of women, when you see the statistics of how many women die, it's freaking scary. And people are like, that's not going to be me. That's the worst thing you can say to yourself. So, and another thing I want to say, your kids, if you have kids, they don't deserve to live in a place like that. And so, reach out for help.
Yeah, I'm in this Houston moms group on Facebook, and somebody had posted, I think, and the reason why I bring this up is I think a big part of the reason women are afraid to leave is they either don't have any money, they don't have a job, they don't have any place to go, and they don't have those resources, so they're afraid that they won't be able to take care of their kids. But again, if you take the minute to Google it, or somebody had posted, hey, I need help with such and such a case, and there were like 20 comments of all these women, try this place will help you, this place will help you, this place will help you. So if you decide that you need it, like forget everything you have, like just you stepping out and making that brave move, the universe is going to provide for you. People
Absolutely.
are going to step up and help you. Strangers will. Everybody, like, don't be afraid of it not working out, or you not having money, or you not having anything, because there's systems set up to help you and get you out of those.
Absolutely. And always know that these agencies they're aware of all that. So they're going to do the best. They're going to do there's systems in place to get you to to a safe place. Also, there's some that provide housing, clothing, money. I mean, don't let that stop you from reaching out for help. And so, I think the worst thing you can do is stay, really.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us tonight and for reaching out to me. I know we've been friends for a while. I'm so glad.
I know.
Although this is like our first face-to-face conversation. But
isn't it crazy?
It is crazy. I love social media and technology, and the way it's able to bring us together and kind of spread positive messages. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing your story with us today, and for being a voice and an advocate for women who've gone through or are going through this. Is it okay if people send you friend requests or reach out to you if they have any questions?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm still an advocate. I don't work for them anymore, but I'm always, people still remember me and I still get questions.
Nice. Perfect.
Yes.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Bridget, for having me.
You can go ahead and hit the X, and I'll shoot you a
Perfect.
message in just a minute. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here. Wow, you guys, that was a great story, as well as a lot of valuable information, because I know at some point in life we all kind of go through different relationship things or different challenges, and having somebody that can kind of speak out on behalf of that is super beneficial. So as I've said before, next week is going to be my season finale, if you will, of this show. We're going to do one more episode, and I'm super excited for this guest. She's going to be, her name is Beautiful Survivor, what she goes by. And she was shot multiple times, survived, probably a domestic violence case, huh? She survived, and just to tell about it, she has a very powerful story. I also have something exciting in the works that I'm going to do for a summer series that I am not going to give much information about yet, but it's going to be awesome. So I want to say thanks again to Maricella for being here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next week for our final episode. See you guys.